talked about.
Okay.
You may tell the story.
Well, let's see. This is the 13th of May, and we're sitting in a little place called Winter Harbor, near the northern end of Vancouver Island, and we have completed quite a day since we left Ucluelet yesterday. We started off in the morning, looked quite good. After having been defeated the day before, we found the sea quite smooth, making good progress, even a southerly wind to help us along, and we were congratulating ourselves on being so smart as to not delay further and get going. So we made a terrific time. By 10 o'clock in the morning, the motor was off and we were sailing along beautifully. We tried out our monitor wind vane gear and it steered the boat flawlessly all day long and even into the evening. We saw whales at mid-morning, a couple of whales, and everything was going fine, but by about sundown the wind started picking up, so we pulled in a reef, and then not too long afterwards we put in the second reef, and by the time it was getting dark, around 8:30, 9 o'clock, we decided we better pull the mainsail down altogether because the boat was going over 7 knots, and that's a little fast for this boat. So we pulled the mainsail down and rolled up quite a bit of jib. So we really are under very short canvas. And still we were going fine. The monitor was holding a very good course. We were rather far offshore because we had set a course to intersect the northwestern tip of the Brook Peninsula, which sticks way out into the ocean out there, and it's kind of a notorious place. It's a big wind generator, and if it's going to be storming, it's going to be storming there. And the forecasts were not good. They were forecasting storm conditions, very hard southeasterly winds, but we were doing fine. The boat was steering itself really good. I had the watch from 12 midnight until 2, and things were still doing good. Zia came up on watch, and I stuck around for 10 minutes or so to make sure we got past this little island called Solander Island on the northwest corner of the Brooks Peninsula. And no sooner had we got abreast of the island than all of a sudden the boat roared out of control, up into the wind, the sails shaking violently, and Zia and I both went up and tried to control the boat by helping the monitor, but it was hopeless. We couldn't do it. The monitor was trying to overpower our efforts, so we disconnected it, and it was so dark and so rainy. The wind was blowing so hard, the only way we could tell even where we were going was to look at the windsock on the top of the mast, and it was a lot of wind, just a whole lot of wind. So we didn't know how much because we have no anemometer on the boat. But once we got clear of the island, I could see that we had a reasonable amount of sea room, and so we had really no other choice but to lie ahull, as we call it, where you simply lash the helm down to leeward, take all the sails in, and just let the boat look after itself. And we did that, and every 2 hours I got up and plotted our position on the chart, and I could see that we were drifting in a slightly northwesterly direction parallel to the coast. So we were okay. We were out in clear water. And finally by about 7:30 in the morning, the wind had moderated a little bit, and that, by golly, our course was taking it directly into the mouth of an inlet called Winter Harbor. So we decided, well, that's good enough for us. So we unrolled a little bit more jib and got sailing. Still very rough, but not quite as windy as the night before, and sailed into Winter Harbor. Thought we'd anchor. That didn't work out. Couldn't find a good place. So we sailed farther up the inlet and into this little settlement of Winter Harbor, tied up to a rough old concrete float, and we spent the day. The weather forecasts are better for tomorrow. Not really perfect, but at least we're away from the storm conditions. And by talking to some locals this afternoon, some fishermen which were up in the little tiny store, one of them said that they saw us out there. And commented, boy, there's people, I hope they're not in trouble. because the sea looked absolutely white from wherever they were. I guess they must have been on a boat. And one of them mentioned that in the weather reports that he had heard it was blowing 62 miles an hour when the boat went out of control off the Brooks Peninsula. And that's a lot of wind. I can tell you that is a whole
That's a
lot
storm.
of wind. So,
That's a definition of a storm, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
62 is a definition of storm, not
That's
gale.
a storm. Yeah, that's a big storm. So things worked out okay. I mean, whenever the boat is sopping wet, everything inside is wet. Our clothes are wet. The logbook fell on the floor and got wet, and it was a bit of a mess. But we've haven't had any rain today. Anyway, it's been overcast and rather damp feeling, but we were able to relax. Everybody took a good nap, and Zia cooked a wonderful meal tonight. So tomorrow morning we're going to see if we can substantially complete this voyage. The forecast is for more strong southeasterlies, but that should be going in the right direction. And we've got 2 hurdles tomorrow. One is to get around Cape Scott, and a fisherman told us, don't cut the corner, swing way wide. And he also said, be careful when you cross a bar which leads into this channel taking us to Port Hardy. He says, only do it on a flood tide, coming or going. Always use the flood tide. So we've worked out the tides, and I think we can accomplish that all right. So our goal is to go 60 miles tomorrow to a little place called Bull Harbor, and the next day we only have 20 miles to go, and that'll wrap up this leg of the trip. So wish us luck. We're going to be on our way tomorrow morning.
And the moral of the story is that we never learn, Toby.
The moral of the story is what?
We never learn.
Oh, we never learn. That's right. We never learn. We're going out tomorrow. Hell or high water, we're going to go tomorrow. So we'll see how that happens, and you'll get the next installment soon.